Taylor Trench from Elon University playing the completely messed up and sex-obsessed and completely heartbreaking Moritz. And if any of you happen to have visited Dylan in the summer of 2008, you may have seen him perform in 5 or 6 roles for the Lake Dillon Theater Company, about an hour west of Dillon, or an hour west of Denver. And also Steffi D, who plays Ilsa, the Runaway. You're from Canada.
Yes, I'm
That's
from
how
Canada.
I just figured I'd introduce you. You're from Canada. Okay, I'm going to ask you the toughest question first. It comes from the audience. Do you think you're going to hell for being in this show?
No way!
That was actually my boss's question.
It's rock and roll. I don't know. And it's real, and it's we're just painting a picture. We're just depicting humanity. There's nothing wrong with that.
I was being totally facetious. How many of you have seen the show? And you still have a few more days. How many are going to come see it still? Now would be a good time to mention that the Denver Center has a special offer to all of you in the audience. All remaining floor seats are now going to go for $25 for just your group. If any of you want to go see the show, $25, just go to the box office and say you're from the Colorado Thespians, and you can get in for $25.
Please come.
Come again, too. Okay. Sorry, by the way, that you had to be here during the 2 coldest weeks in Denver history.
We're pissed.
How'd you get through it? What'd you do?
I'm from Canada.
Yeah,
I'm
no
used to
problem.
this.
Yeah.
I'm from Florida, so it hurt a lot. I'm surprised I'm standing, but I made it thanks to tips from Canadians.
Well, let's get into this. For obviously, a lot of people have seen the show and a lot of people haven't. So I'm going to have each of you sort of introduce the show, but from your own character's perspective, and we'll take it from there. Steffi, do you want to start?
Sure, I can start. I play, well, the play is set in 1890s Germany, but it's, you know, the score is a modern rock score by Duncan Sheik. I play Ilsa. She's the bohemian girl who runs away from home after being abused by her father. And she's kind of like an old soul in a girl's body. She's grew up way before her time and has gone through way too much for her age. Yeah.
And I play Moritz, and basically the show is about this group of teenagers and the discovering of their own sexuality, and Moritz is the character who probably struggles with the most. He's tormented by his own puberty, and no one will explain to him what's going on. So basically he's just really confused and no one's there to answer his questions.
Excellent. And since you're among your peers now, do you mind my asking how old both of you are?
We're both 20 years old.
Both 20?
I was going to say we're as old as you want us to be.
That's right.
Or that.
The age of the cast itself ranges, I think, from, except for the adult man and woman, is like 17 to 25.
Yeah, 18 now.
18.
She
You
turned
just had
18.
You just had
Yeah, 18 to 25.
Well, talk to the high schoolers out here who, obviously these kids have a love for theater and would love to be where you are one day. Tell them how you even found out about Spring Awakening. How does something like this happen, that you get this opportunity so early in your life?
I actually found out about Spring Awakening at my thespian conference in Florida. I was competing in solo musical, and is that a category here? Yeah. And a drama teacher from another high school was like, hey, you should look into this off-Broadway show called Spring Awakening. So I checked it out, and I sent in a video audition, because for the show it's really cool that you can just send in a video if you want to audition. And that's basically how I heard about it and got in it.
I saw the show on Broadway kind of right before the Tony Awards happened. I had read the play by Frank Wedekind before, so I was sort of familiar with it. And, you know, when somebody said it's a musical, I was like, okay, I'll just, you know, so I stood in the line at TKTS in New York, and I got half-price tickets, saw the show, fell in love with it, and it just, like, the music is just so haunting, and it got me through kind of like a tough, bumpy road in my life at that point. So it was kind of like just, you know, sent from above, kind of the music just made me feel at home.
Yeah, I was going to ask that of you, Taylor, too. The first time you actually got to see the show and find out what it was about, what effect did it have on you?
It was a huge impact. I kind of have always connected to the character of Moritz because in high school I had like academic troubles near the end. I just got lazy and felt a lot of pressure like at home and from my peers. So I think watching someone else like go through that same journey was very cathartic for me, and I knew that I had to be a part of that like amazing journey.
So you sent in the videotape, and that got you started. You auditioned in New York.
I know, I actually, they had open calls in Toronto, where I was going to college at the time, and then I just kept getting callbacks, and then I was actually originally cast as a swing. That's kind of a cool story. I was cast as a swing and an understudy for Ilsa. They had already cast the Ilsa like about 6 months ago before I auditioned. And then she dropped out because she accepted another project, and then they called me and they bumped me up.
Talk about some of the other cast members. There are an awful lot of you who are on deferment from college right now, basically, that whenever this winds its way up, you're going to be presumably going back to school or going to New York to your next jobs. But a good deal of the cast is in college right now, right?
Yeah, I think most of us are at least somewhere through college. There are a couple cast members who haven't even started. They graduated from high school and then came with us on the road. And then there are a few people who graduated. But I think it's a really cool opportunity that we get to take like a year off from writing papers and doing homework to perform in musical theater.
We were joking about this backstage. The message that you're going to be sending to these high schoolers who are college bound is just to don't go to college, right?
But do
No, that's
go to school, please.
No, I loved I only went to college for a year before I got cast, but it was the biggest help. Like, I grew so much in that 1 year.
Yeah.
I think it was meant to happen before I got cast in this. I had to grow.
So about the show, I'm not sure if we completely covered the ground. Can you sort of explain to people in terms of what this is, the play that it's based on, and the sort of creative process that Steven Sater and Duncan Sheik went through to create Spring Awakening?
It was like an 8-year-long process for them. I'm not sure. I know that Steven Sater had talked to Michael Mayer about turning Spring Awakening into an opera at first. And then all of a sudden, they were involved with Duncan Sheik, and it sort of became like this idea, why don't we, do this like cool rock musical? And it went through so many stages. We've heard so many stories about, microphones coming down from the ceiling, and like all these weird concepts that they had. I forgot what the question was.
Well, I'll help you out here a little bit. They started off with an 1891 play by I don't know how to pronounce his name, but
Frank
Wedekind. And it is basically the story that you see on stage, very sort of faithfully told in a lot of ways.
Yes. Sort of, modernized a little bit by Steven Sater. He took the original play and kind of molded it to fit, our story. There's a lot of elements in the play, the original play, that aren't in our version of it. I don't want to spoil it, but there's a sex scene in the show.
You may have heard.
You may have heard. And, it's questionable whether or not it was a rape in the first, in the Frank Wedekind version. And there's a masked man, too, at the end of the Frank Wedekind version as well, that is not in our play. There's a lot of subtle differences, but it's pretty true to the original text.
And something that's kind of interesting as far as the creative process goes is actually the Columbine was something that expedited the process of Spring Awakening, which I know is close to home for you guys. When that happened, Steven Sater and Duncan Sheik and Tom Holston, everyone involved with the project, realized like there was a need for a show like this, like for teenagers, like specifically for teenagers.
Yeah, both of the creators of this musical are Buddhists, and they were the way they described it to me is that they were having a chant and talking about Columbine and saying, what can we say to people in response to this that can give them a little bit of hope? And it's interesting to me that they found it in a 118-year-old now play that was banned in Germany about these kids growing up in the total absence of any kind of sexual information from their parents. So they're basically discovering everything about that important rite of passage just from their friends and from other information. And we sort of see the really tragic consequences of that because of the way the play plays itself out. But then they had